I love it.
So today we have Roger, also known as Ogre Dinadane, and he has won Best Castle at Brickslopes. Roger, tell me about your build.
Yeah, so this build is a giant siege of a castle. This is a Black Falcon castle, and the siege is being done by orcs. Some of the, I don't know, maybe backstory there is that the tribes of the orcs have united. So there's a lot of different like factions of orcs that are all together here. They've begun a conquest of all the human kingdoms. And so Black Falcons just happen to be next on their list. So in this build, there are something like 430, 450 orcs and 150 of your blue traditional Black Falcons. And then there's probably another, I think it's 23 of these red Black Falcons, which I've just started calling Crimson Black Falcons, but I know that there's a lot of names out there for them.
What was your inspiration? I'm assuming with the username, maybe a little bit of Lord of the Rings?
Yeah, definitely. So there's some Lord of the Rings influence. When I was a little kid, I used to play, there's a real-time strategy game called Warcraft where orcs and humans fought a lot. And so there's probably some influence there.
I love Warcraft.
Yeah, a lot of fun, a lot of fun. You know, I've just always loved castle. I've always loved castle battles. And so this was an excuse for a fun castle battle build.
How long do you think the build took you?
Oh, that's a tough question. Tons and tons of hours, I think, putting into it, you know, trying to, because I've got 4 kids and I work full time, you know, it's kind of finding a few hours here, a few hours there. Most of what you see here was built over the last probably month or so. And a lot of it was actually built over the last week. So, you know, a little bit of a time crunch to get ready for Brickslopes. And because of that, there's a lot of unpolished parts of the build, but overall, I'm happy how it came together.
Was this mostly freehand or did you do any designing in studio?
Definitely all freehand.
Okay.
So just thinking of, oh, what do I want here, and getting as close to, you know, what I can imagine in my head as possible. Some things turned out better than others in that regard. But yeah, a lot of fun, a lot of trial and error for sure.
Are there any intriguing or some of your favorite build techniques involved in the castle?
So for those serious builders, probably not that many. This rounded brick tower was a lot of fun. And then being able to do it so that the rounded brick tower kind of came out to create the top of the turret. That was a little unique. That was a little bit tricky to figure out. It's a delicate style of build. You know, figuring out how to do this gravel and sand interior of the wall, which is what they really did back in medieval times to reinforce walls. You know, that was kind of interesting, you know, trying to crack it down and have, you know, maybe even parts of like arches still being there. I mean, I'm pretty proud of the trebuchet because it actually works. Like I can really, like, I could pull this black pin out here and take this off, and we could just sit here and sling rocks at the keep and stuff, and they'd hit pretty hard. Building this orc battle command tent, or, you know, building, there's definitely some interesting things that I learned doing that, trying to figure out the angles and trying to figure out how to have it come together and kind of look cohesive. One of my shames is on the roof. There were some fun techniques in creating the roof, but the back of the keep is rounded or is angled, and I never did actually nail down how to figure out the roof on the back. And I said, you know what, it's not facing the public. I give up. I'll save it for another day.
Hey, it's still good enough to win. Still good enough to win.
You know, if people could see it, maybe not, but luckily it's hidden. So
I'm loving the siege towers.
Yeah, so the siege towers, here we've got some successes and some fails. So I wanted to make it look like they had carved out, you know, this is a wooden siege tower. These are wooden, you know, spikes on top of these like kind of palisades. And I think that came together nicely by differentiating the heights and things. And then I liked some of the contrast of the color, the way that the levels work, the way that this drawbridge kind of came together, and it will go up and come down. All those I would say were pretty good. These spikes, believe it or not, were supposed to be arrows. They're Harry Potter wands. But I struggled on creating the angle, and so they don't really come across as arrows. They come across as just like a spiky tower, and I'm like, you know what? Orcs, it works. We'll live with it this time.
Shout out to the nice parts usage.
Yes, thank you.
I also see like you have some Easter eggs.
Yes, I love seeing Easter eggs in other people's builds, so I definitely wanted to incorporate some of mine. And I'm happy to say that a lot of the Easter eggs ended up being kind of a fan favorite, especially among kids. They love finding this stuff. I put a list off to the side of things that they can find. To walk you through a few, starting back here, we've got this troll Branch, which is from the movie Trolls, and he's the wrong kind of troll. So these orcs are launching him out of the catapult. You know, we've got Minecraft Steve here, and he's running away from the breach. you know, if kids wanted to imagine that maybe he was part of that, like breaking down the wall, you know, all the better. Here we've got a Gremlin minifigure, a Witcher minifigure that I just custom built them out of Lego pieces that I had. We've got some baby raptors chasing a rabbit. The baby raptors are from Jurassic World. You've got Blue and Charlie, Delta and Echo. Right here you've got a Forestman minifigure who's eating popcorn. And from people who know Lego Castle or some of the history of Lego Castle, Forestman and the Black Falcons, not really friends. They're not really, you know, they're not really on the best of terms. And so the Forestman's just kind of enjoying the fact that these Black Falcons are having such a terrible day. Here we've got Medusa, who kind of camouflages there with all the green, but you know, she's hanging out. We've got a clutch of baby dragon eggs, and some have already hatched. There's a few baby dragons again. I probably should have picked some brighter colored dragons, like some golden ones that would pop out, but the eggs at least draw some attention to it. A little nod to Lord of the Rings. We've got Aragorn, Legolas, and Gimli. Gimli standing on a box, just kind of a reference to the Two Towers movie where a joke was made. Then down here below, we've got Mickey Mouse, and that came from a Mickey Mouse Lego set where he's in all night gear. And so, you know, since I was lucky enough to have that, I just incorporated him right into the build. Then behind Mickey Mouse, there's Gollum, who's just kind of sulking around. And then up on the wall, you have the Mandalorian and Grogu, Mando and Grogu. And then a little farther back, there's a Viking that's in chains. And that's a nod to a build that I did last year, which was my first ever, you know, build to display at a convention or anything like that, which was a Viking raid of a church. And so I just wanted to have a little nod of that. And there's a Viking prisoner in the back. And I think I believe that hit most of the Easter eggs that I listed out for the kids, for sure.
One thing that I'm curious of is, like, as someone who isn't an expert mocker by any means, what advice would you give to someone that's trying to learn how to mock? Yeah,
that's a good question. Don't compare yourself to other people. I mean, work with the pieces you have, work with the, you know, in the capacity you have, do something that you enjoy so that you're excited about it and can move forward. People who know me and who've kind of been along for the process with me know that I've said nothing but negative things about the castle this entire process. But then I got here, and the fans who have come, you know, to see Legos at the convention, you know, they've really liked the castle and they've been very complimentary of it. And so I'm trying to learn to be less, you know, self-critical in that regard, and just accept that, you know, what you do and the imperfections that you see, that's not what others are going to see. They're just going to see, you know, all the things that maybe you have done or accomplished. And so, you know, I guess what I'm getting at is less self-criticism.
Roger, I appreciate it, man. I think it's a well-deserved win. Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
And thanks for your time.
Thanks.
All right, I'm ready.
Oh, the kid flew back at you.
It went straight at you.